Information, but some might say revelation. And the revelation will change you. Thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. That's what Peter said. And then Jesus said, flesh and blood didn't reveal that to you, but my Father which art in heaven. So we want the Heavenly Father to reveal to us today His mind and His heart concerning the topic spiritual healing in His presence, then physical healing, and then emotional. Our speaker is here from Flint, Michigan. Come on up. Reverend Yvonne Lewis is here. She's are you assistant pastor yet, or what are you? Assistant pastor at Ebenezer Baptist Church. It's not Baptist anymore, it's Ministries. All right, come on up. I'm so glad to have you here. First time at the attraction. Praise the Lord. Let's put your hand toward her and let's pray for her. Father, in Jesus' name, we thank you for this woman of God. We know she has a word from God that we need to hear. Change us in your presence. Quicken us according to your word. And we thank you for your ministry gift, speaking as the oracle of God today in Jesus' name. You can give a little of your bio if you want to.
I got my word in the purse, so
Amen.
I got to keep it close. God bless you. It is my honor and privilege to be here with you today. I thank God for salvation and the Holy Ghost.
Yes, amen.
I thank God because I know for myself that He is real.
Yes.
You know, at one point I may have had to ask somebody about it, but I don't need to ask anybody now. Because I do know for myself that God is real. I thank Him for saving me one day. When I came into the world, my parents were already saved, already in ministry. But I learned I couldn't make it on their salvation.
Come on.
I needed to know the Lord for myself.
Yes.
And I'm so thankful that I do this morning. I honor this pastor, Apostle Glenn and Prophetess Glenn. God bless you. Thank you for this invitation. And this has been quite some time. You know, it's just a busy season. So much is going on, and it's important that we understand that God is who He is in our lives, who we need Him to be, when we need Him to be, how we need Him to be, and then what we need to do so He can be in us what we need Him to be. Well, that makes sense to you. How we can learn how to be what we need to be so He can be in us what we need Him to be. So I'm thankful for that this morning. Worshiping warriors. A little bit about my background. I've known Pastor. I don't know who can help me with these. Just a little one-sheeter I want to give you this morning for everybody. We had a lot of activity, and I was praying about this since the invitation to come. And I said, Lord, what am I going to do? How do you want me to do this? So since it was a word shop, we're going to walk through some word this morning. But a little bit about my background. I'm a native of Saginaw. I was born and raised in Saginaw. I'm the fifth child of 11 children to the late Drs. Hurley and Martha Coleman, founders of the Coleman Temple Church of God in Christ, which was originally, it went through a couple iterations. I know you know that we were the Johnson Street Mission. My father started the church in the garage of the house that we were living in, and so it was a little mission. Johnson Street Mission. We moved from Johnson Street, Michigan to Liberty Park when he built the church on the corner of 2716 Wadsworth Street. And we fellowshiped there from 1963 to 2002. Well, yeah, and then my brother, after my father passed in 2001, a couple of years after that, moved the church to 2405 Bay Road, and it's now known as World Outreach Campus, Greater Coleman Temple Church of God in Christ. So God has been good to us. 11 children born to that union, and we're all well. We lost two of my siblings. One of my older sisters, the second oldest child, passed in early life. She was only a few weeks old when she passed. So we didn't have the privilege to grow up with her, but we always felt like she was with us. And then the 10 of us, many of you may know, my dad called us the Big Ten. Because there was a whole lot of folks sitting around the table. But God blessed us, and all of my siblings, somewhere, somehow, are in ministry. So I thank God for that. I've moved through the churches of God in Christ at all levels, actually. I worked in the local church and ultimately became a jurisdictional supervisor until the Lord saw fit to shift my place. And a few years ago, I'm back in the 1900s, 2015, the Lord spoke to my heart after having worked in supporting Bishop Knox in Flint as Ebenezer Ministries, going over just teaching Sunday school, helping out. And one day I was there and I taught Sunday school and I stayed for the service. And he said his vision for 2016 was that 40% or more of his church were baptized with the Holy Ghost. Now typically, you don't hear that kind of conversation in a Baptist church or a former Baptist church because they had Baptist roots, and he shifted out of that to the ministry. And the Lord quickened my heart that day. I said, this is something. And I said, how can I help? So I thought I would continue teaching Sunday school there and not go into my church after I teach Sunday school. But the Lord continued to speak to my heart. And then in late November, I heard the word of the Lord say, come over in Macedonia and help us. And it kept ringing in my spirit. And so I went to my bishop and talked to my bishop and made the decision that I would leave the churches of God in Christ after being there for 60 plus years, all of my natural born life, to join up with the ministry there at Ebenezer. And I tell you, God has been good. I told Bishop Knox, I said, Bishop, because he asked me to come. I said, Bishop, I don't know anything but Jesus Christ and Him crucified, the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. If that's not what you want, I'm not the person to come over here and help you. But if that's what you want, that's what I can bring. And so it's been wonderful. Saints, the Lord is just blessing tremendously. And so a few days ago, He asked me to serve in the role of pastor. So there are 4 other pastors, and he's the senior pastor there at Ebenezer. We're just looking for God to continue to do great things. And as I see people now jumping and shouting, speaking in tongues, we're almost there. We're almost there. So I praise God for that. So I come to you today, and all I know is Jesus Christ and Him crucified. I know that the blood of Jesus makes whole. I know that He will wash away our sins. And if we are true and we believe His word, He'll do everything that He said He would do. Jesus said when He got ready to go, He said, I will not leave you comfortless, but I'll send back the Comforter, He the Holy Ghost. And He will lead you and guide you into all truths. And I thank Him for that today. So, prophets asked me to talk about spiritual healing in His presence. And I've had to have a lot of healing. As you go through growing up in the home of a pastor, and living in a place where even in the city where you're scrutinized all the time. Never a place you can go where somebody's not watching and see what you gonna do, what you did, how you gonna do what you did. And even within the church, there's sometimes things happen and we become broken. We get hurt. And we need something from the Lord that only He could give. So I hope in these next few moments, this word will come forth and it will bless you. I know you've had some moments of worship, but I just want to, and you prayed, and I thank you for that. But I want to entreat the Lord one more time and ask for His grace. Father, as we stand before this, your people today, we pray that you will give us the grace of words that will reach the heart, that will minister to the need, that will give life and light in places that there might have been darkness, and even sometimes a feeling of so being overwhelmed that it feels even like death. Because I know, God, you're the giver of life. And I thank you for that today. Because you've shown yourself faithful to me, I know that I'm not your only favorite child, that we're all yours. And that you will do for us only what you can do, because you see the need even better than anyone I pray, God, today that you would touch our hearts that we might receive, our ears that we might hear, and then give us the grace to walk out what you have talked to us today about. And we'll give you the praise, the glory, and the honor in the matchless name of Jesus Christ, the anointed one and his anointing. Amen. You know, the song came to me this morning, Holy Spirit, thou art welcome in this place. Holy Spirit, thou art welcome in this place. Omnipotent power of mercy and grace, thou art welcome in this place. Holy Spirit, thou art welcome in this place. Holy Spirit, thou art welcome in this place. Omnipotent power of mercy and grace, thou art welcome in this place. Every time I sing that, I don't sing it as if he's welcome in this physical building. It's in this place. That's where I want to welcome him in. And if nothing else, I tried to work this out and it didn't quite work for me like I wanted it to. But I want you to see this next thing I'm about to say. I want you to picture a banner. I have a banner. It was one of the royal kind of banners. And I want you to picture that, and I want you to put inside of it, never alone. Never alone. And that's the banner I want us to wear over our heads. We put crowns on sometimes, and you know, it's not there, but in there, right there. So that's a banner. And if you can imagine that banner hanging over your head all the time. And every time something happens, you can see that banner says you're never alone. One of the things that happens to us spiritually that the enemy does to us, Pastor, is he causes us to feel like we're alone. And that's how he becomes able to defeat us. Because he starts talking to us and causing us to think that everything we believed in, everything we thought we knew, everybody we thought loved us, all the things that we thought we had conquered, you ain't do nothing. The enemy comes to steal, kill, and to destroy, and sometimes we look at that from the physical sense. But all of our conversation today, I want you to think about spiritually. He comes to steal your joy by tapping into what you're thinking about. Right? And you don't have to have anybody in the room with you. It's just you. And he's convincing you over and over again through your thoughts that you are not who you think you are. You are not who you thought God said you were. And there's no hope. But I come to tell you today, you're never alone. And it's a song that says, and you know, we come up in a singing families. And so songs speak to me a lot. And this song says, never alone, I don't have to worry. Because I'm never alone. I may physically be in a space all by myself, but I'm never alone. I've been in places where there were so many people that were like this, and I felt all alone. People touching you. I mean, they're sitting right close to you, and you feel like nobody in that room gets it. They don't understand what you're going through, and we'll say that today, they don't understand. Nobody knows what I'm going through. Nobody ever been through this. Have you ever heard people say nobody ever been through what they've been through? You say, yeah, are you serious? But in those moments, that is truly how we feel. That we are alone and nobody cares. That is the way the enemy creeps in and begins to pull us down so that we feel like even God is not faithful. Even God ain't big enough to handle this problem. Have you ever had one of those where you thought you were the only one that could figure out what happened, how to fix it? Somebody said, well, pray about it. You said, not this time. Or we'll say, I prayed about it before and nothing changed. So why will I pray again? I think about, just in this moment, I think about, well, the prophet said, by my word, that my word is not going to rain for the space of 3 years and 6 months. He said it, but what did he do? Every day he went and prayed, he looked up, okay, no rain today. No clouds today, thank you, Lord. But the time he decided, don't rain. Because if we believe God, we can speak things. Right? And he said, oh, it's going to rain now. But there was no clouds in the sky. He still said it's going to rain. He sent the young man out and said, go check it out, go look in the sky. He's so confident at this point, he's not even going out. Because he's sure it's going to rain. But he sent someone else out to go look. And the young man comes back and said, I don't see nobody. He said, go back again. So confident that God is going to do what he do, just go back again. Now, how many times do we get so confident that we know God is going to do what he do, that in spite of what it looks like, in spite of what it feels like, we move forward as if it's already done. And we look for the manifestation of the words that have come from us. Because we're made in his image and likeness. So if he said it, he will cause it to come to pass. So eventually, as we know, it did rain, but all he saw was a cloud about the size of what, y'all know this story, about the size of a man's hand. That was good enough. It's going to rain. So never alone, even no matter what it looks like, we're never wrong. Because he walks beside me every day. Every day. He guides my footsteps every step of the way. We know the word says the steps of a good are by the Lord. Now I always put woman in there because somebody get confused and say, well, he just talked to the man. But I know there's a scripture that says male and female created he them. So I just want to just put that banner over your head. Never alone, no matter what it looks like. Because if we don't get this, then we'll always remain spiritually broken. And when I say spiritually broken in this way, disconnected. Spiritually disconnected. Keep me on track, Pastor. I know I won't get through all these scriptures today. So that's why I'm leaving with you. But I do first want to go to how do we deal with this spiritual healing. Let me read my little guide to you before, and then if I forget to read it later on, my time is going to run out. I already feel like I'm not going to get through everything. I knew that when I wrote it. So let me read. You can read along with me, the little guide. I want to put this in your spirit. It is important to know that we are never alone. God is always present. The questions are, do we recognize him? Do we rest in him? Do we understand that he is ever present, all seeing, all knowing, and that there is no place we can hide? Because in the midst of our struggle sometimes, let me just talk about me this morning. In the midst of my struggle sometimes I thought I could hide. So I go in my bedroom, I had some rough spots in my life. Go in my bedroom, close the blinds, the drapes, everything. Want to try to get it as dark as possible. And even lay on the floor, get in the lowest place possible. Because I was broken. And I don't know why I thought God couldn't see me there. Went from this room to this room. It didn't matter where I went. God was always there. Sometimes he was speaking to me about some things that I didn't too much want. Come on, y'all. Come on with you, know. They did it to me, Lord. It's their fault. Why did they say this to me? Why did they treat me this way? What did I do to deserve this? I never said that right. And one day, Pastor, I went in that room and I was on the floor with my word, and I kept hearing this phrase, lest there be any root of bitterness springing up in you. And this is one of these, lest there be any. And I said, Lord, any root of bitterness? Why does it? literally, I was hours in that room, on that floor, with my Bible and some notes, until I got to the point where it said, bitterness is sin. So if there's the least little root of bitterness, it's not always what somebody else did. At this point, it wasn't about somebody else. The Lord was trying to talk to me. Because in my hurt and my pain and my brokenness, I took on some things. And that bitterness, which I thought was I had a right to be upset, I wasn't making it up. I know they did this. You know, I would say, well, maybe that. No. Let's be for real. That did happen. It did hurt. It was wrong. But bitterness was not going to change anything. Unless there be any, man, I said, and I came to myself in tears and said, well, God, the last thing I want to do is sin against you. But sometimes we don't realize that sin is hurting us. Yes. That bitterness, just a little root of it. Have you ever been pulling weeds in your yard? I had a whole lot that disappeared. My little back is feeling some of it too. But I pulled those weeds and I found out some of them had the weirdest kind of little root. Because the shoot came up here, but the root was like a V inside the ground. And even if I pulled the top of that plant up, the weed was going to come back because it didn't get the root. Right. Now I know y'all got that message right. You don't get the root, it's going to come back. And many times it comes back when you don't really want it to come back. So we have to deal with the root. And that's why the Lord led me to 2 Corinthians 7:14. Our very first scripture. This is one we quote all the time. We know this one. And sometimes we think about the whole world. All the people in the world. If they call his name. But this morning, I just want us to think about ourselves. I'm his. The reason I know I'm never alone and I keep this in mind is because I must first recognize who he is to me. So if I am his and I'm called by my name, what does it say? 2 Corinthians 7:14. 2 Chronicles, excuse me. No, 1 Corinthians, 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people. So the mere fact he said, my people, he talking about you. And sometimes it's important for us to take the word and put ourselves in there. Say if I, who are called by your name, will humble myself and pray and seek your face, then will I do what? I got to turn first. Not somebody else. Put it on. Make it turn from my wicked way. And remember, I'm saying that root becomes a wickedness. So I have to understand and acknowledge that it's there. Because if I really want to be healed, I can't cover up nothing. I can't act like it's not there. I want to be free. Healing in this case for me also means delivered. And if I must look at these things, I got to get down for myself. And that's when we were coming up. We had this mother, her name was Mother Ruth Lacey. And she ran revivals. And she would tell the young women sometime when we really thought we wanted to get close to God, but we would come to church, we were so cute. With our cute little dresses on, with our cute little hairstyles. We was all made up, you know. And we were so cute we couldn't pray. Now she prayed, but she was watching. And she noticed when some of the young ladies, we tried to keep their makeup together. They didn't want to cry because they didn't want to mess up their mascara. So she told this one young lady one night, we had been tearing and praying. She said, let me tell you what to do. She said, tomorrow night when you come plain face. Don't wear no makeup. Pull your hair back. Wear something you don't care nothing about getting dirty if you fall out in the floor. So you can get to God because that's in your way. I don't know what's in your way. but you do. And when I say when we want to get in his presence, we have to take everything off externally that we know gets in our way. Because we do tend to cover up things, protecting ourselves, and because we don't want nobody else to see. Right? So when my dad used to say, when it really gets tough, you put on your best suit. You slick your hair back, put on your best shoes, and you go out because you want to present the image that everything is okay. But when you come to God and you really get in his presence, what did we say earlier? You can't hide. He knows anyway. So why are we who really know we need God and need something from him, why are we going to him trying to cover up? As if he doesn't already know. Lay before him and say, yes, help me because you see what I don't even see. But help me to see what I need to see so that I can get what I need from you. So that I can be who you need me to be. So I can do what you called me to do. Because he's called you to something. It's no accident that you're here. He has intention for you in your life, but until we get to the place where we understand what that is, we're going to always be spiritually disconnected from him because we're struggling and we're warring on the inside. Nobody even sees that war you're going through. I remember I was praying and the Lord led me to the service, and I declare, I was praying, God, help me, help me, help me. I want to know, I want to see, I want to, and sometimes in that desperation, we're really crying out to the Lord, and we don't even always understand what it is we're asking for, but he said, ask. I went to that service that night. And in the middle of that sermon, I don't even know what the preacher, actually, if you ask me what the preacher's subject was, if you ask me what scripture he was talking about, I cannot tell you. But whatever he said in the middle of that sermon, I heard the Spirit speak to me and say, you cannot do what I told you to do. You cannot be who I called you to be until you understand who I said you are. Because during that season, I had picked up in my conversation what other people had said or what I thought other people were saying, and that's how I began to identify myself. So the enemy uses all kinds of tools to get at us. You know, you hear somebody say, oh, girl, I don't know why I'm telling you this, but I just thought you ought to know so-and-so said such and such a thing about you. Now, I don't necessarily believe it, but why don't you tell me? So then my struggle became, because you get that from this and this other girl, I was talking to so-and-so the other day. You know what they said? Now I don't believe it, and I'm really crazy. Then you go over here, oh girl, you doing all right? You know, I did hear such and such a thing. And then after a while you say, is that what they think? Is that what they believe? Is that who I am? And you begin to question yourself. You're not even asking God. You're thinking and asking about the things that somebody said to you. This is how we become spiritually, when I say broken in this case, disconnected. Because we're not hearing what God said about us. It's now, our thoughts are now being infused by what the enemy has up. And we open ourselves up to hear it. So I had to get to the place after the Lord kind of helped me. That's how I don't want to hear it. Because I don't need to be thinking about that. Because our thoughts are so powerfully important. So we know we want to pray that again. So 2 Corinthians, let's go there now. 2 Corinthians 4:7. And I hope this is going to bless you. It blessed me. 2 Corinthians 4:7. 2 Corinthians 4:7 says, we what? We have this in where? So but if you don't know the treasure that you have, and then this is what the enemy is trying to steal from you with all of these little innuendos. Because we are spirit. We're going to get to that in a minute. But we have this treasure in earthen vessels. What's the treasure? Thank you. The power of God The Holy Ghost lives in us, right? And if we don't recognize, because we are earthly, we were made, and that's coming up too, the next scripture, Genesis. God created us, right? He made man and woman from the dust of the earth, so we are earthen vessels. That the excellency of the power of God, which we know is the Holy Ghost that works in us. If we get disconnected from that, nothing works well. So what does St. John 4:24 say? Let's go there right quick. St. John 4:24. I get the healing for me comes through the words. So I appreciate when you said word shop. Because I can hum it off, I can sing it up because I love to sing and love it. But the Lord has helped me to understand that we don't really get the word, understand the word, so enough chew it on it and digest it, so that it's in us, so that it comes up when you need it. What value does it have for us? St. John 4:24 says, and God is Spirit, and they that worship him must worship him how? But if we're disconnected, we can't do that. And what happens with that, those little innuendos we get, it disconnects us from the truth. Because we're no longer hearing what God said. We're hearing what those external factors are saying, and we've taken it into our earthen vessel. And so when we take all that in, we push the Spirit. So if we want to be spiritually cleansed, spiritually healed, we have to reconnect with the Word. That's why Romans 12:1 became so important, right? Because Romans 12:1-2 says to us, what? I beseech you, brothers and sisters, by whom the mercies of, that you do what? What we got to do? What we got to? So remember what I talked about? If you don't want to walk out in the street, I told this young lady, she saw me getting on the way. I said, I'm all right. I'm all right. Because sometimes people see this image of us in the street, and we feel like we got to keep that image up all the time. But you get home and get in a place where you're totally confident and you don't care about what it is in the edge. That's what people care about. I say anyway, you do what the Lord said. But you get in that place and you go before God with no cover up. Just be real with him because he sees you anyway. The issue is, do you see you? Do you recognize who you are? Do you recognize that you've been chosen by him? And even though you don't get it right 100% of the time, you know where to go to get it right. So I beseech you, I beg you, my brothers, and in this case, mostly my sister, and I see a couple brothers in here, that you present, that you come before, go into his presence as a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reason. He didn't make it so hard we couldn't do it. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Remember we talked about the mind before, because this is where the work happens. This is where the good work and the bad work happens. The devil is going to try, he will attack your mind. He will attack your thinking. So we have to be transformed in our thinking. That's what this means. That's the word transforms your thinking. If you think differently about who you are in him, you will act differently. And the only way you know how to act differently for you, I'm not asking you to be me, because God didn't make you me. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. I am too, but I'm not you. So I can't be you. And sometimes we want to be what somebody else is. We see all of what they're doing, but child, you have no idea what it took for them to get to wherever they are. And there's a reason God didn't give you that. Because that's not what he designed you for. And watch, when people try to take on a responsibility or a load that doesn't belong to them, it's a problem. At the same time, if we don't get up and do what's been assigned to us, it's a problem. But be transformed by the renewing of your mind. This is a constant work that we have. It didn't just say renew your mind, renewing, because every station that you get in life is going to be a new station, and your mind got to be renewed about something. But renew your mind and wash it with the Word of God. Ephesians 4:22. Ephesians 4:22. I really would love for you to read this whole passage, 14 through 32. I just want to emphasize these verses. Verse 22. Verse 22 says, and be renewed in the spirit of your mind. Right? Just renewed in your mind, but renewed in the spirit of your mind. So now you get the new thoughts because you done read the Word, but now you got to do something. You got to activate that. You got to work with it. You got to think about it so that your actions become a part of what your mind is saying. Verse 23 says, and that ye put on the new man, which after God is created in righteousness and true holiness. Because when your mind is renewed, some things are going to change. There's going to be some, and people will notice the difference in you. It will even show externally. Somebody will say, well, did you do something different? No. But your smile is different. You know, you look like you got a little brighter. Because what the enemy does when he oppresses us, he brings our spirit down. You go in the mirror, you don't even look like yourself, do you?
That's right.
What happened? But when you get renewed in your mind and rejuvenated in your spirit, you look in the mirror and say, oh, that ain't so bad. Because now I'm walking the way that I know and walking in the newness of life. In verse 24 it says, put on the new man, which after God is created in righteousness and true holiness. 25 says, wherefore putting away. Now I got to get into all of that. Just keep on reading. I want to skip over to verse 32 and say, and be ye kind one to another, tender-hearted. There you go. Forgive me. Because just like I may fail in my humanness, my sister may too. And even though she hurt me, I have to forgive her or him or whomever. Because forgiveness is not all for the other person. Because sometimes you have to forgive when they don't even ask you. Because you're carrying something that is keeping you bound. And you can forgive them in your heart, and the next time you see them, you know they remember. Because they act some kind of way. Have you ever been in a space you know they knew, right? And you see them, they look at you and they go this way. They try to avoid you. You got to run, girl, let me see how you do. Because you've forgiven them. Forgiveness is one of the critical things towards spiritual healing. Because that's not something that you really do naturally anyway. Sometimes we get mad and the next time you see him, you go back to 1948. You was 2 years old and they stole your candy. You 60 now, you still worry about that 2-year-old candy. I had a doll on my dad when we were younger. You know, we didn't have a lot of black babies. But if our black baby came out, Sister Leona. See that go. So let me tell you about my black baby. I had a black baby for you. I had one. So my younger sister got to cutting up, playing with my brother's gift, and it was one of those airplanes with the wood that you put together. And so she decided she's going to eat some chili with my brother's airplane wing. So while she was eating her chili, we caught a sliver, a piece of the chip of the wood came off and got lodged in her throat. And so we sitting there eating, she just screaming and hollering and going on, and finally, when they figured it out, because they see the thing, they figured she got something from the wood in her throat. They take her to the hospital, she's screaming and hollering, mom and dad trying to get her together, and my daddy in his desire to calm her down, said, baby, what can I get you? And she said, I want that brown baby. My brown baby. Now, I'm a middle child. It's not true about this middle child. I'm sorry, baby, trying to take me. I'm walking all over the place. I didn't get a whole lot of gifts. So the gifts I got, I cherished. My daddy came home and looked at me and said, I need to have your brown baby. Because your sister, he gave me this long story. And he explained it. And I gave her my brown baby, but I was so hurt. It took me years to figure that thing out. Truthfully. Could be mad at Daddy. I was a little hurt. But it got away with her too. We grown, real grown. I would say she might have been, well, let's put it this way, it was in the 1960s. And she remembered in 2000 some year, one of those, guess what I got for Christmas? Or my sister? A brown baby. So we never know the impact of some things on the other person either. So if we don't forgive, it doesn't open up space for them to even do what they need to do so they can be free. This is all a part of spiritual. It took me a lot thinking all of these different things. Lord, for this? Yeah. If we're not forgiven, we won't be spiritually whole. Let's go to Hebrews 12. And I'm almost there. I'm almost there. Hebrews. We had to learn this scripture. It's like one of those required learned scriptures that we had to learn when we come up. Particularly 12 and 14, when they said, follow peace with all men. If you didn't know nothing else, it was some Leviticus 11:44, Hebrews 12:14. They say them, everybody know, because you had to learn these. But that 12th verse says, wherefore lift up the hands which hang down and the feeble knees. So if you're not forgiven, you won't see how you need to reach out and help somebody that's weaker than you are. Because it is really all about you. In spiritual healing, you go beyond your own self-interest and your own self-concerns. Doesn't mean that you know you don't need something from God, but because you are moving into a higher level of maturity in Him, you then begin to look on the needs of others. Verse 13, and make straight paths for your feet, lest that which is lame be turned out of the way, and let it rather be healed. So we're talking about spiritual healing. Your healing, somebody else is going to be impacted by your healing. Just think about it. If somebody didn't get strong enough, we wouldn't be here today. But somebody, and I should have pointed, but pastor, prophets had to get strong enough to say, I know we need some spiritual healing. I know we need some emotional healing, because I have a testimony that I know, because I've been there, and the Lord spoke to me and said, you can't keep this to yourself. Now, she and I really didn't have this deep conversation like this, so she'll tell me if I'm wrong. But I believe when she called me, I just felt in her spirit, she said, this has got to go deeper. It's got to go broader. We have to really deal with this, because some of us are sitting in our churches and we come and we shout and we sing and we pray and we are broken. And we're looking for the deliverance in our ministries. And we wonder sometimes, why aren't more people being delivered? Because we are not. This is a message for the body, not for the folks out there. Because if we get sure enough healed in here, more of them will be coming in here. And then when we lay hands on them, we talk about laying hands on the sick and they shall recover. It's not just physical sickness. There's a deliverance that's necessary that will only come when you, and I wouldn't say that word, when you regurgitate your own stuff. When you get rid of your stuff, then you in you. So when you see that person coming through the door who experienced what you've experienced, God will give you to see them, not just look at them, but truly see them and be able to minister to them, because you're ministering not in your hurt, but beyond your hurt. Because it's difficult for you to try to comfort somebody when you feel like you the one need to be comforted. But when we get spiritually together, even when we are hurting, we can sincerely minister to someone else who's hurting. Isaiah 55:6. How do we do this, Lord? How do we do this? How do we making straight path for our feet? What is it that we need to do? How do we get it together? Isaiah 55:6 begins by saying, do what?
Seek the Lord.
Not my best friend. Not the person who's going to tell me what I want to hear. Massage all my wounds even though they know they need to get me straight right now. Because we do get to places where somebody needs to kind of, and God will use somebody. Have you ever been in a place where you knew you need to get, somebody got you straight, and the person you know will get you straight, you don't go to them. You don't go to them because you know they're going to get you straight. They're going to tell you what thus said the Lord about yourself. But right now you just want to have a pity party. So you know who to go to when you need to have a pity party. My time is up. All right. But seek ye the Lord while he may be found. Call upon him while he is near, and let the wicked do what? And the unrighteous man hears. So it all goes back to that. What are you thinking? And so let's go quickly to Psalms 100 and find out what happens. Psalms 100, and I'm going to close out here. I think I made it. Thank you, Holy Ghost. It's amazing to me when we really, really sit in the presence of God. And it's those quiet times, it's those times when we really take the opportunity to take stock and look at what's going on in our lives. Psalms 100, the whole thing is good. But since I only have a little bit of time, verse 4, let's start there. All right, thank you, Holy Ghost. Verse 3. Know ye that the Lord, he is God. Remember we said in the beginning, we're never alone. It is he who hath made us, and not we ourselves. You didn't design you. You didn't choose what gifts and talents you were going to have. You didn't choose the family that you were going to be born into. God chose that for you. Now what you do with it is up to you. You can decide to be obedient and humble yourself and to walk in his ways and know that you are his own. And then you can enter into his gates with thanksgiving and enter his courts or into his presence with praise. Be thankful unto him and bless his name. His mercy endureth forever. It never runs out. So when we're at our place where we're feeling the most broken, that we're seeing that it's the most difficult, if you can just remember, I'm never alone. And because he's always there, I can enter into his presence. I can enter in his gates and I can be thankful. Thankfulness is the way, really, to true deliverance. Last piece of my testimony is I was going through, unfortunately, I went through a divorce. That thing took everything out of me. Because I was raised, my mom and daddy said, you stay there, you just work it out. You work it out. And I was like, I'm working it out. I'm trying to work it out, but he ain't working with me. So I had to learn how not to let that be my downfall. And in the difficulty, it was a very, very snowy night. It was a snowstorm in Flint, some true. I remember going home in my dark house. So I told you, it felt like dark. The darker, the better. I didn't want it to be daytime, didn't want it to be night. And I began just to say, because I was bombarded by the enemy, all of these thoughts and all of these things. what people said, what he said, what I did or didn't do, what I could have done or should have done, all of that. And at a moment, in just a moment, I could just hear, just say thank you. Glory to God. Just say thank you. Just say thank you. Whatever it is, no matter how it looks like, just say thank you. And I just began to holler in my house all by myself. I just said, Lord, I thank you. I don't understand, but Lord, I thank you. I didn't want it to be this way, but Lord, I thank you. Whatever it is, Lord, I thank you. I didn't realize I had my phone open. And a good friend of mine on the other side of town, all she said when she told me about it, because I'm in the middle and I'm just crying out, I'm hollering, thank you. And I got so caught up in it, and I'm hearing my doorbell ring, and somebody's banging on my door. And so I finally come to myself and go downstairs and find out she had sent her son with his snow truck to my house to see if I was okay. She said, "But girl, I know you know how to get a prayer through, because all I could hear, hallelujah! Thank you, Lord! Thank you, Lord! Thank you, Lord!" And when I began to thank him, every time I began to thank him, I felt a strength come on. Thank you, Jesus. But you know when it gets heavy, you feel like you're just going to fall. Your body can't even hold you up anymore. But the more I began to thank him, hallelujah, I thought about what he had already done. Thank you, Jesus. The more I began to thank him, I thought about what he already promised. The more I began to thank him, I said, God, you kept me this far. I want to thank you, Lord. Whatever it is, I just want to thank you. Because you've done it for somebody else. You can do it for me. In his presence. I got in his presence because I called him. I had to press beyond myself. I had to press beyond my thoughts. I had to press beyond my feelings. And I had to thank him. So when you get in his presence, then he begins to take over. Hallelujah. You begin to say some things you didn't even know was there. The Holy Ghost will begin to speak in you and through you. Begin to build you up. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. You're never alone. And if nothing else, when you're in that moment and you say, I got to get some spiritual healing, just go to thanking him. Because he inhabits. Come on, he inhabits. Come on, he inhabits. I can't hear you praising him. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. We thank you for your grace. We thank you for your mercy. Because your mercy is new every morning. And you're so faithful. We love you and we adore you and we praise you and we worship you. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. That touched me because I know you went through Reverend Yvonne. And look, what I thought about Pastor Lewis, that God knew that you was going to be here right now, that you was going to be a pastor. So the weapon formed against you. You know the weapon was formed against you was that divorce. But look what God did in spite of that. Hallelujah! Somebody say hallelujah! I've never known. Somebody say I've never known. His man over me is love. His man over me is victory. And I'm never alone. Well, physical healing is up here, coming up now on Pastor
healer. We had posters made, and then she made me a wonderful postcard. My friend from Canton, Michigan, and I thought she did a real good job, Mom. And so she mixed up and she made the postcard. She gave 2 people emotional healing. I said it was too late. I texted her, I said everything was wonderful except one mistake. But I knew that the Lord would have you minister to us on physical healing. That spiritual healing was good. Wasn't that good? Give God some praise for that. Thank you so much. And Pastor Benson, I know she's been having healing services at her church, and she's been doing it for a while. And that's what came to my mind. I said, she's on the cutting edge of that. She's been current on that. And we're believing God for a manifestation of healing. Last night, the healing presence was here. Anybody could have been healed. All you got to do was reach out and touch. I'm expecting reports of people being healed. And that spiritual healing is so important. We had a lot of people come up to give prayer last night. A lot of people came for prayer. So I'm expecting some testimonies to come from that. But come on up, Pastor Vincent. She doesn't have a handout, but okay, I know she's got a good word for us today. Let's put our hands toward her. Father, in the name of Jesus, we thank you, Lord, right now for the physical healing in your presence, God. And not just spiritual, but physical, then emotional. Make us whole, God. Let us hear what the Spirit is saying today to us in Jesus' name.
Thank God. Bless the Lord, oh my soul. All that is within me, I bless his holy name. Bless the Lord, oh my soul.
Come on.
Forget not.
Forget not.
Forget not.
Forget not.
His benefits.
Yes.
See, we tend to forget his benefits. He has a lot of benefits for us.
Yes.
I'm, as she announced, Pastor Genevieve Benson of Christ Disciples Baptist Church. Just a little bit about myself. I'm not Michigan grown, I'm Ohio grown. Married and came to Michigan and been in Michigan for over 35 years. My late husband, Pastor Eddie J. Benson, and I co-pastored together. And 5 years ago, he passed away. And I stepped up as the senior pastor. So, pastoring with the Holy Ghost for me has been on 5 years, but I've been in the ministry almost 10. But today I want to just leave this thought with you on physical healing. When I was contacted, we said, prophetess was saying, we're expecting a manifestation of miracles and healing.
Yes.
So I want you to think of this. Healing and a miracle is now. It's now. It's not in the by and by.
Come on, come on.
It's now.
It's now.
And if you got pencil and paper, you're going to have to write the scriptures down that I use, because I didn't do a handout. I just got so wrapped up in this, the Holy Ghost didn't say write nothing down for the handout. But here I go. I'm going to Matthew chapter 8. We're talking about physical healing now. Chapter 8, verses 2 and 3 talks about a leper. We all know back then lepers was a very, very, very ugly, rottenness disease on the body. And a leper came to Jesus. And a leper spoke to Jesus and said, Lord, if thou wilt, thou canst make me clean.
Right.
Jesus had a very simple answer. I will
I will.
be thy clean. Very simple. He asked, and Jesus answered, I will.
I will.
Jesus has never told anyone that he might
Come on.
not. He never told anyone that. He never told them that it's not God's will to heal them, or that their sickness that they're in, you got to stay in it a while for a special reason. Jesus never said that. He never spoke anything like that. But today we feel like God gave us this disease and we got to stay in it for a reason. That's a lie from the pit of hell.
Amen. Come on, Pastor. Amen.
Jesus didn't say that.
Come on.
In Matthew 8, go down to verse 5 through 13, you have the story of the Roman centurion who came to Jesus seeking healing for his servant. Jesus gave him the same kind of simple answer he had given to the leper. I will come and heal him. He told the leper, I will. He told the Roman centurion, I will. Then in Matthew 15, verses 21 through 28, the story of the Canaanite woman who came and knelt down before Jesus and asked for help. Jesus granted her request, and her daughter was immediately healed. All three of these people approached Jesus through one, worship. They approached Jesus with worship. Now this weekend we've had worship. We worshiped last night all to the presence of God. So today I want you to Jesus just said, what do you want? You have come and you have worshiped me. You come into my presence. So what do you want? All three of them worshiped God, and God responded by healing them immediately. When Jesus ministered to people, he healed them all. When Jesus ministered to the people, he healed them all. Glory to God, hallelujah. Every person healed of every disease. Matthew 12:15. There was great multitudes of people who followed. They had various diseases that was brought to God, Jesus. And he laid hands on every one of them and he healed them. Not specific people, but he healed them all. Not according to their various disease. He healed all various types of diseases that was brought to him. We worship so that the presence of God was in this place, and I agree with prophetess that you're going to have reports of healing, and you know what? That presence is still in this place. His presence is still in this place.
Yes.
If you have come in here and expect expecting. See, we don't have no expectations of Jesus. We read it, we hear it in here, but we don't have the expectation that he will do it. You have to expect that God is a God to his word. His word is true. You got to expect that he'll do it for them back in this biblical days. He'll do it for me. Why? Because he's the same God yesterday, today, and evermore. He's the same. Why in the body of Christ so much sickness? We're not believing. His word is true.
It is.
We are even afraid to even try. We read the scripture when it comes to tithe and offering, it tells us, and God tells us to try me to see if I will open up. Well, try him about his whole word. All of his words. Try him. So many, and I speak of my church, they get a headache, they got to stay at home. I said, you shouldn't be running to the church and asking and praying and getting in worship so God can heal that headache.
Yes.
But why do we stay away from him? And then you get the nerve to get a report from the doctor that's not very good and you keep it to yourself. No. I'm going to get on that phone and I'm going to start speaking to my prayer warriors. Because I believe in the power of prayer. I believe when I pray to God sincerely that his word goes out and doesn't come back void. It does what it's sent out to do. Well, why isn't the body of Christ operating in it? Too much sickness in the body of Christ. We have too much work to do at this end time to be sick. How can we go out and do what God has assigned for us to do if our bodies is racked with sickness and disease? First of all, you should recognize and know that it's not from God. It's not from God. God's desire is for us to be whole. Our bodies to be whole. Jesus hasn't changed. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. Hebrews 13:8. Jesus wants us to believe that he is anointed of God to heal, and that he will do it. He will do it. He will do it. I'm not talking about, I am talking about what the word says, but I had a personal experience knowing that he will do it. Cancerous disease tried to attack my body this year. Didn't get fearful because I can't get fearful because I know who that fear comes from. I started getting in the word. Where's my healing scriptures? And believe what I read. You got to believe the word. I believe that I am already healed by the stripes of Jesus Christ. I believe that he sent his word and healed me. Then they want to throw another scare. Okay, you need a second opinion. You need to go down to Ann Arbor. The Lord said, go ahead. I said, okay, I'll take all the tests you want me to take, but I'm healed. Got a phone call last week. Well, they ain't found nothing, but they just want to keep a watch over it in 6 months. I don't care what you ain't going to find nothing in 6 months. My God is a total God. He's totally healed. But you got to step out on his word. I can't to believe this thing.
Yes. Yes,
It's
Lord.
real.
Yes, Lord.
God is real.
Yes,
He's so real to me. He's real. And I like what the sister said. When I get myself together, now I can preach and teach you that he's real. He's real. I can speak about he's a healer. But even if I didn't go through no physical illness, I still know he's a healer. Because his word said it. You got to stop lip serving God. You got to believe it. And let your actions see, people can see that you believe it by the way you act. All Jesus asks is that we put our faith in him and believe what he said. You have to receive it by faith. James 5:15. The prayer of faith shall save the sick, and the Lord shall. Y'all hear that?
Yes.
There's no maybe, or he may thinks about it for a while. It said, the Lord shall. Oh, Jesus. He shall. We don't get that shall part. Oh, maybe he will. Oh, you start thinking about what we did. Oh, I'm too bad. Oh, he ain't going to hear me. That's another lie of the devil. He shall. That's how much he loves. He will do it. And he will forgive you of any sins that you have committed. The devil tries to keep us bound by our past actions. But then it said if we go and ask for forgiveness, he shall forgive us of those sins and throw it away. He's not even wondering what, I can just imagine, just imagine, Jesus, what are they talking about? He said, I don't know, Father, I already forgave them. I don't know what they're talking about. We got to turn that past loose. Let it go. Let it go. So the Holy Spirit and God can come in and heal us. Glory to God. Hallelujah. We must make a stand to believe or not. You got to take a stand. You either going to believe him or you're not. There is no gray area. There's no gray area. You believe him or you don't. Because God is faithful. We have to expect the manifestations of God and miracles and healings for yourself now. Not by and by. Expect your miracle today. Expect your healing today. Whatever you need of God, expect it today. Glory to God. Expect it today. Get in settled on the word of God. What did the word say? It's settled with me. That's my final authority. He is no respected person. Acts 10:34. He didn't love the people in the Bible more than he loved you. Ask in faith, believe, and receive. Mark 9:23. All things are possible to him who believeth. It's his will. It's his will. So we need to boldly confess what you're believing in. Boldly confess. Begin talking it as though you already got it. And it will come. John 15:7. If you abide in me, and my word abides in you, you shall ask what you will. And it shall be done unto you. The question is, do you believe that? What are you believing? Have we put all of our faith and belief in the doctors and their medications? Some of the medications is causing us this word. Some of us just need to get drunk in it.
Oh, yeah. Yes, God. Thank you, Lord.
So it can get into our spirit.
Yeah, God. Yeah,
See, it's in our mouth and our head, but it hasn't dropped down in that spirit. When somebody come and tell you, oh girl, you're going to keep that because your mama and them had it, then you can stand up and say, take a stand. No, I won't. Sugar diabetes stops. It stops with me. But if you're not in the Word, you can't stand. You wobbling all over the place. You're wobbling. When you go there. Oh, somebody's here giving the Word, you go there. Stand on the Word. If God is speaking to you, you got that relationship with God. He will speak to you. He will give you directions through the Holy Spirit on what to do about your particular situation. I'm not against doctors. God has made them whom they are. But all my faith is not on that doctor. Don't let your miracle pass you by. Don't let your healing pass you by because of religious traditions. Instead of listening to the word, what God has said. The miracle is here. Your healing is here now. Glory to God. I'm going to end with this scripture in Mark 10. Familiar story about blind Bartimaeus. Blind Bartimaeus refused to let Jesus pass him by. Blind Bartimaeus had an issue. He needed some help.
Come on.
He knew where his help was.
All right, all right.
In his society, in his community, the only help they could give him was a robe for a beggar. And permission to sit on the side of the road and beg.
Help today.
That's all the community could do for him. But blind Bartimaeus heard Jesus was coming back. Somebody heard that there was a conference going on with healing mentally and emotionally and physical and spiritual. And they said, I ain't gonna let that pass me by. You're here for a purpose.
Yes.
Blind Bartimaeus got up. He heard Jesus passing by. And he cried out. Some of us are too ashamed to cry out to Jesus. You're hurting. You're on your last limb. And shame has kept you from crying out to Jesus. And your miracle is passing you by. Your healing is passing you by because you got pride in yourself. But blind Bartimaeus, he didn't care. He had a need, and he knew who could fulfill that need. And he said, it ain't going to pass me by today. I need him. Jesus, Son of David! We need to cry out sometime. We need to get ugly sometime. We need to cry out because we got a need. And only God can supply that need. He's the only one that knows what's happening deep in you. Blind Bartimaeus cried out. Then the religious leaders. Somebody in your church will tell you that don't do that. That's back then. They don't do that today. Then you should have cried more louder as blind Bartimaeus. Jesus, Son of David. Glory to God. Hallelujah. Jesus heard the cry. What no tears. He heard the cry of blind Bartimaeus. him. Come on. Now they want to recognize him. But they didn't recognize him until he cried out.
Well,
People ought to recognize you when you're crying out to God. They ought to recognize that they know somebody who can help them. He cried out, Son of David, have mercy upon me. And as a result of him pressing in, when the church folks said, ain't gonna happen, he pressed in. When he still was a beggar, he pressed in, even though he was still blind. He pressed in, and Jesus heard him. He didn't worry about what the church leaders said. And Jesus called unto him. And I like what Jesus said to him. He asked him a question. What do you want of me today?
right.
He's asking you, what do you want of me today? What do you want? Blind Bartimaeus had an answer. He knew exactly what he wanted. He said, I want to see. I just want to see. Because if I get my sight, I don't have to wear beggar clothes anymore. I can make a living for myself. I just need to see Jesus. What do you want from God today? What do you need him to do for you today? So that you can be whole. So that you can get in the race that he has put upon you. What is it you need from me? Because Jesus told blind Bartimaeus, your faith has made thee whole. Notice, he said your faith made you whole. Not just open his blinded eyes. Everything that's in his body had to line up. Every system, every organ had to line itself up and be whole as God designed him to be. What do you want from me today? What will make you whole? That's the question for you today. What is it that you need from me? I've heard your prayers. I've heard your worship. I heard how you loved on me last night. I heard how you worshiped and just prayed unto me. You gave it all to me. What do you want from me?
Jesus. Help us today.
You took the time to come this morning, to come into my presence. I'm here. What do you want from me? Healing, my miracles is here waiting for you. That's what's spoken before I spoke. Come and clean before me. What do you want? It's here for you. Ask, believe, and receive. Father, I thank you, God, for your word. Lord, I thank you that you're here. Thank you, Father God, for entering into your presence. And in your presence, there is healing power. In your presence, there is miracle working power. In your presence. Touch your people right now, as they sit quietly, secretly, whispering unto you their need. I thank you for supplying every need. I thank you. I thank you. In Jesus' name. Amen. And thank God.
Give God the glory. Give God the glory. Glory. It's in your glory, oh God. We give you the glory. Father God, we're in your presence. We're in your presence. We're in your presence. We thank you for your presence, dear Jesus. Oh, what do you want? Pray for the shackles to be loosed off of you so you can come unto him. Who is the healer? Who is? Hallelujah, the miracle worker. Oh, blessed be your name. Just receive, just receive, just receive, just receive. Glory to God. Hallelujah. Glory, glory, glory. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Oh, Father God, give them what they need. Or healing, 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 and miracle. What they need. Oh, God, provide it right now. In Jesus' name. Right now. In Jesus' name. Right now. The Son and the Holy Spirit, Father God, right now, oh God, supply supernatural, oh God, now, every need in our clinical body, Father God, thank you, oh God, healing right now in Jesus' name, supernaturally, oh God, right now, with the earth,
Anyone else? Anyone else? We got about 3 more minutes. Anyone else would like prayer? This could be the prayer that does it. This could be the word that does it. Hallelujah. We thank you, Father, for the religious spirit being bound. Cast it away in the name of Jesus. Hallelujah. God has no respect of person. Women can pray just like men can pray. Because it's the same anointing that destroys the yoke. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Pray in the Holy Ghost, Lord. Pray in the Spirit. Receive a fresh wind of the Spirit. Come on. Oh, out of your belly flow, out of your belly flow, out of your belly flow. It's in the Spirit. It's in the Spirit. It's in the Spirit. It's not by power or might. It's by His Spirit. And they were all with one accord. And the Spirit moved. Let's get on one accord in the Spirit now. We believe to receive like the woman of God said. We receive, we receive, we receive, we receive. Healing is in the belly. Deliverance is in the belly. Streams of life is in the belly. Revelation and truth in the belly. Every breakthrough, every breakthrough, every breakthrough, every Move, Lord, move, God. Move, God. Move us away. Move us in. Move them away. Move them in. In the name of Jesus.
Come on, let's keep worshiping for a minute. Hallelujah. Pastor Evelyn is here. Her handout is in the folder. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Thank you, Lord. We thank you for healing us. We want to thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. We love your people. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. Hallelujah. You know what I heard the Holy Ghost say? There's going to be a healing breakout in Saginaw. There's going to be healing camps all over the city. God's going to start flowing. And all the churches over there, they've been crying out to Him. Crying out to Him for healing, for the manifestation. Hallelujah. These signs shall follow them that believe. In my name they'll cast out devils. In my name they'll lay hands on the sick, and they shall recover. In my name they'll speak with new tongues and tread upon scorpions and serpents and all the power of the enemy. We believe you, God. We believe that you are God, that you are in order, that you will reward us. Good word, Pastor Bill. Not just that I feel the anointing, I receive the anointing. Lord, Pastor introduce our own Pastor Evelyn.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Give the Lord one more shout. Hallelujah. Glory, glory, glory.
Hey, great to be felt.
This woman of God is an anointed teacher. Lord exalted her to be a pastor. She's a pastor teacher, Redeemed Ministries for 16 years. That's right, 16 years now. Hallelujah. Give that a hand. Praise the Lord. God has sent her to her family, sent her to this community. Amen. We're proud of the work that she does. Hallelujah. She's a woman of revelation and truth. Yes, she is. And she is our first daughter in the ministry that left. Amen. To start her own ministry. Again, Redeemed Ministry. You will hear the spirit of the teacher tonight or this afternoon. Amen. So with open ears and open hearts, receive ye her. And that's Pastor Evelyn Wesley Allen. Amen.
Praise the Lord. God is so faithful. And I love how God confirms. He said he would do it with 2 or 3 witnesses. So I've been hearing what he told me. What he spoke to me, I've been hearing it over and over again. So praise God. Praise the Lord. My job today is to teach you about emotional healing in the presence of God. To give some insight on how to practice this on a daily basis. So emotion is a natural instinct, instinctive state of mind derived from one's circumstances, mood, or relationship with others. Feelings gathered from reasoning or knowledge. Healing is to be made whole. Presence is being or existing. So now, emotion is a natural, instinctive state of mind derived from one's circumstances, mood, or relationship with others, feelings that are gathered from reasoning or knowledge.
All right.
Now we know that man is 3-dimensional, having a spirit, soul, and body. The spirit has to be reborn or made anew at salvation. It is the highest element of man. It's how we commune with God. The body houses the spirit, the soul, and the 5 senses. Our soul is your personality, what makes you you. It houses your mind, your emotion, and your will. Now, your mind is your intellect, reasoning faculties, your old memories. Your emotions is how you feel about the things that you think about. Your will is how you make choices based on how you feel about the things that you think about. So in order for there to be emotional healing,
we have to understand how the soul works. Now, thoughts, emotions, and your will work together. You never have an emotion or a feeling without first having a thought. Then you choose or act upon it, which is your will. Okay? The way that you ended up here at this conference is that there was some information that was introduced to your mind. You thought about it. Then there were some feelings that arose. Based on that, you made a choice on whether or not you would come. That happens on a daily basis. It's so automatic that we really don't notice it. The problem comes in is when we're wounded in our soul. When our thinking is off, it causes our emotions to be off. Therefore, our choices or our decision making is off. The world is full of wounded souls. And they've gotten stuck in their feelings. And that's sinners and saints. They're so easily angered, so easily offended. You see road rage. You see people fighting over the last chicken sandwich. You see husbands killing wives. You see mothers killing their babies. You see children shooting up schools. All because they're caught up in their emotions. Now, as Christians, we're told that we're not to walk in the flesh. Walking in the flesh is living according to our soul. How we think, how we feel. As Christians, we are to walk in the Spirit, being surrendered to what God thinks, being obedient to the Word of God, and choosing what He wants. We shouldn't be like the world. Now, Ephesians chapter 4, begin at verse 17. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 17 and 18 says, "This I say, therefore, and testify in the Lord, that ye henceforth walk not as other Gentiles walk, in the vanity of their mind, having the understanding darkened, being alienated from the life of God through the ignorance that is in them, because of the blindness of their heart." When you walk in the flesh, in the vanity of your mind, it darkens your understanding or your imagination. If you're living from your soul realm, based on your own way of thinking or processing information, you're going to always be offended, always have misunderstandings, and not be able to walk in the healing that God has already provided for you. The soul is selfish. It's self-centered. So when you're living out of your soul, you only see how you've been wrong, how it affects you. After salvation, your soul has to be restored. It has to be brought back into proper alignment so that it can be protected and healed, because the enemy attacks you in your thought life. So the soul has to submit to the will of God and get into alignment. So there are some things that we must do after salvation. Number one, renew our mind. Romans 12, verse 2. Romans 12, verse 2 says, "And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God." We should look like, or act like, or think like the world. Therefore, there has to be a complete rejuvenation or renovation of our mind. It must be changed for the better. And that's done by getting into the Word of God and taking on His thoughts. That's when we will know what is the good and acceptable and perfect will of God. And we will know what's good for us. Number two, we have to understand that we need God. That He's not just a suggestion. Psalms 42. We're going to look at verse 2 through 6. Psalms 42, verses 2 through 6 says, as the hart panteth after the water brook, so my heart panteth as the hart panteth after the water brooks, so panteth my soul after thee, O God. My soul thirsts for God, for the living God. When shall I come and appear before God? My tears has been my meat day and night, while they continually say unto me, where is thy God? When I remember these things, I pour out my soul in me. For I have gone with the multitude. I went with them to the house of God, with the voice of joy and praise, with the multitude that kept holy day. Why art thou cast down, O my soul? Why art thou disquieted in me? Hope thou in God, for I shall yet praise him for the help of his countenance, meaning God's favor. So, there has to be a desire, a longing for God's presence. As the deer panteth after or longeth for the water, he knows that he needs water to survive. We have to come to realize that God is a necessity. And his way of living is the cure for all of our problems. We need God. A day shouldn't go by and we haven't been in his presence. We haven't had a conversation with him. We need him like we need water and food. And we especially need him in our night seasons, in our pain. I like verse 4 where he says, when I remember these things, I pour out my soul in me. For I have gone with the multitude. I went with them to the house of God with the voice of joy and praise, with the multitude that kept holy day. When he was going through, he knew that he had to get into the presence of God, where there was joy and praise in his presence. Has this ever happened to you where you was going through something and you didn't think that you was going to make it out? And you got to the house of God, and every song, every scripture, the sermon seemed like it was all for you. And then you said, God, I know that you're with me in this. It's going to be all right. In the presence of God, there's joy. In the presence of God, there's peace. In the presence of God, there's healing. And then he asked this question, he said, why? Why art thou cast down, O my soul? Why art thou disquieted in me? Hope thou in God, for I shall yet praise him for the help of his favor. You have to know where your help comes from. You have to know where your hope comes from. There has to be some expectation that happens. He says, why are you cast down? Cast down means to sink or depress. So he said, why have you sunken down into your feelings instead of having faith? Disquieted means to murmur, to mourn, to be troubled, to be in an uproar. So he said, why are you speaking negatively about your life? Why are you mourning the lost husband, the lost job, the lost dream? Why are you mourning about your past? When you get into the presence of God, he shows you your future. Number 3, it's time to pour oil in the wounds and choose joy. Some years back, I was facing a heart situation and I could feel myself sinking into depression. But I heard the voice of the Holy Spirit say, choose joy. So I put on some praise music. And I started praising God. And I started to begin to feel the joy of the Lord coming forth. You have to choose joy. And then that joy that's in you will begin to come forth. Choose to enter into the presence of God to praise him in the midst of your pain. It's according to your will. Philippians 4:4. Philippians chapter 4, verse 4 says, rejoice in the Lord always.
Yes.
And again I say rejoice.
Yes. Yes.
Let your moderation be known unto all men. The Lord is at hand. Be careful for nothing. Worry about nothing. Be anxious about nothing. But in everything, by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto God. And the peace of God, that passes all understanding, shall keep your heart and mind through Christ Jesus. Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, if there be any praise, think on these things. He's not asking you to rejoice. He's telling you to rejoice. Always. Then he said, don't be anxious or worried or careful for nothing. But, you don't know what I'm going through. You don't know how they hurt me. Yes, God knows. But he's still saying, stop worrying about it and begin to pray about it. He said, let your request be made known unto God. And you do it with thanksgiving. Don't have a pity party about it. You can thank him in advance when you trust him. Then he says the peace of God, that supernatural peace that God has given us when we came into his presence, he gave it to us at salvation. You already have peace. It's already there. And it's a supernatural peace because it's God's peace that he's given unto you. And when you look at this picture, he said that it will come and guard. And the picture of this is of a troop that surrounds a fortress. So this peace will surround your mind. It will surround your thinking, your heart, and your emotions. And I love this because first he tells you, don't worry. Then he tells you what to think about. He says, what's true? What's honest? What's just? What's pure? What's lovely? Is there a praise report? What has God done for you in the past? Remember how he brought you out the last time. And think on those things. Remind yourself of God's awesomeness. We don't serve a wimpy God. We serve an awesome God. There's nothing too hard for him. There's nothing that he can't bring you out of. That's worthy of praise. That's a reason to begin to praise him. When you begin to think on those things, then your emotions will fall in line. Number 4 says, choose to enter in and bless God. Let's go back to Romans 12:1. Romans chapter 12:1. He says, I beseech you therefore, brothers, by the mercies of God, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. You have to choose to present yourself. You have to choose to enter into his presence, sit before his throne of grace, and begin to commune with him. That's your choice. And we must be a living sacrifice, meaning that it's not a one-time thing. But this have to be, you have to make up in your mind that daily I will die to myself and live for God. And that's just reasonable. It's not asking too much. That's my reasonable worship unto God, that I lay my life down, that I make him a priority. Psalm 16, verse 7 and through 11. Psalm 16, verse 7 through 11 says, I will bless the Lord, who's counseled me. He gives me wisdom in the night. He tells me what to do. And I'm always thinking of the Lord. And because he is so near, I never need to stumble or fall. Heart, body, soul are filled with joy. For you will not leave me among the dead. You will not allow your beloved one to rot in the grave. You have let me experience the joy of life and the exquisite pleasure of your own eternal presence. I will bless the Lord. I will bless the Lord who has given me counsel. It is an act of your will. There has to be a willingness. A choice has to be made to come before the Lord and bless Him. Don't wallow in your pain, in your emotions, but choose to bless Him because He's been good. You've been wounded, but God is still good. And know when you come to Him, He will counsel you. He will give you wisdom. He will show you the way of deliverance. So what happens is, they was talking about earlier about going to the doctor. When you don't feel good, it's quick. You're quick to go to the doctor. You know, let me make my appointment. We need to begin to make appointments with God. I choose to. God, I know this is where my help comes from. So I choose to enter in. I choose to come before your throne. I choose to give you the worship that is due you. I owe this to you. My heart also instructs me in the night season. This was now, David is saying this, that his heart instructed him. But first, it had to come by God's word. That's why it's so important that our mind is renewed. Because even in the darkest hour, we still can know the will of God. He said, I have set the Lord always before me. Now this is talking about a decision that he made to put God first. Not your mama, not your children, not your husband, not yourself, what you want, but you say, God, I'm putting you first. So he determined that God would always be his focus, his perspective. When God is your perspective, it gives you the right perspective on everything else. You can see your way. He said, God is so near to me that I don't have to stumble. When you become so conscious of his nearness, you begin to understand He, the Holy Spirit, God himself, lives within me. I don't have to fall.
That's right.
I don't have to fall because God is within me. I've been teaching at my church. We say, go to his throne. We say, we have to go up to heaven. All of those things. But God lives right here on the inside. He's inside our spirit man. And we have to make the connection. And only when you begin to understand, he's this close to me. I don't have to fall. I don't have to be depressed. I don't have to be suicidal. I don't have to be, because God himself lives on the inside of me. So I choose to rejoice. Therefore, my heart is glad. Let me go back up here. No, right here. Therefore, my heart is glad, and my glory rejoice. My flesh also will rest in hope. You can rest in hope. He says, for you will not leave my soul in hell. God's desire and his design is that we be healed. That our soul be restored. You're not asking something out of God's will. You're not asking something that's all crazy. This is God's perfect will that we be healed in our emotions, that our soul be restored. So whatever the emotional pain, you have to realize that it has a time limit. So I can rest with expectation, knowing that God is my deliverer. God, I sit here in your presence. I know, God, I've made the connection to you. I know, God, that it is according to your will that I be delivered. I thank you, Lord God. I say right now, I am delivered. I am healed. I made the choice to rejoice. So I'm coming out of this thing. Nor will you allow your Holy One to see corruption or destruction. The enemy wants to use your pain to destroy you, but God won't allow it. He promised to show us the path of life. Keep seeking God. Keep coming into His presence. And Zoe life that is in you can't help but take you to the high life. A life of victory, a life of joy, a life of wellness. In your presence is fullness of joy. And at your right hand is pleasure forevermore. That's the definition of the presence of God. That's the definition. When you're in His presence, He said it's fullness of joy. So where is there space for depression? When you're in His presence. Joy takes up all the room. So if you want to have emotional healing, you will have to choose to let go of your past. Make a choice to surrender yourself to God's will, daily presenting yourself to Him. And allow the supernatural joy that was given to you at salvation to come up and shine through. Then every day will be a living sacrifice, offering up worship that belongs to God. You're not doing this, well, let me go ahead and give God this praise. No. You owe that. You breathing. You woke up and you was breathing. You owe God something.
That's right.
So when you begin to do that, healing will manifest. It begins to manifest in you because you're doing it God's way. You came in line with what God has already purposed and planned, what He's already said. If you begin to rejoice because God said rejoice, He said these are some things that will happen when you begin to rejoice. When you begin to rejoice, there's peace that's going to pass your understanding. Meaning that doesn't mean that you become dumb, you don't know what's going on in your life. No, He said it will pass your understanding. You know what's happening. But this supernatural peace, God says, well, you can say, they say, you know what she's going through, right? Look at her. Wow, man, I don't know how she's able to do it. I don't know how she's still standing. It's because the God that's on the inside of her. And because she made the choice to rejoice. She made the choice to obey God and not sit at home and be able to, well, look, remember this, you know what this happened. You see how they said that about me. You know that ain't true. You don't worry about that. You don't worry about that, about what people say, or even what the enemy is saying to you. You don't worry about it, you rebuke that. Cast down that thought. The problem comes in with us is that we don't know that we're in a war. This is about the war. People don't even know they're in a war. These thoughts come to the mind and just go in a trance. Listen to it. You see the picture that the enemy is painting. Yeah, that's right. Let me get my cover. Pull my cover over my head. Instead of saying, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus Christ. I cast this thought down right now in Jesus' name. Use the weapon that God has given to us. One of the weapons is praise. Use that weapon. Get up and be, the enemy says something negative, you get up and begin to start shouting, praising God. Come before His presence. He can't follow you in there. When you're so filled with God and with praise, there's no other place where, and it's like when you're filling up a cup and it overflows, you can't put anything else in there. And that's what God is saying. He's saying to us, begin to do it the way He's already designed it. He's already given us instruction. David said, my heart instructs me. Meaning that the word that I've studied, the word that the Lord has given unto me, have given me some instructions. He already told us what to do. But we get so caught up, staying in the soul instead of entering into the spirit, living by the spirit. We're spiritual beings. The soul has to come under the authority. Say, no, I'm a spirit being. I'm connected to the Holy Ghost. I'm connected to God. I choose to. The one thing that kept coming up when I was preparing is it's your choice. I choose to. I choose to praise. I choose to rejoice. God said it's all on you to choose it. We're not, what is the word where you feel like you're helpless and you can't do anything. I don't have any authority over it. There's nothing. No, God said, this on you. You choose it. You choose it right now. Choose to come into that place that God has already designed, that God has already destined for you. Choose to walk into it. And once you choose to walk into it, then it all starts to fall in place. It all starts to, the healing comes. The healing that's already there begins to manifest. It begins to show up in you because you're rejoicing. You're doing those things that God has already spoken for you to do. Praise the Lord.
We're really doing good on time. I was thinking about Pastor Evelyn, some of these manifestations that's in the soul. Fear. They talk about unforgiveness today and bitterness, hurt and pain. I was looking for Fred Hammond's song. You can listen to it. He said he's singing this song, "Tell Me Where It Hurts." It's a new song. And so God is saying, tell me where it hurts. Don't hide from God. Go to God and say, God, you know my humanity. I'm nothing but dust anyway. I'm going to tell you what happened, what they did to me, what they said about me, how that hurt me. And I've been trying to let it go, but it keeps coming back, God. It don't seem like I can let it go. I heard Marilyn Hickey say she said, God, I can't forgive them. And God said, I can give you the grace to forgive them. So you can let that situation go. Broken vows, like if daddy did you wrong and mama did you wrong, and you made a vow that you would never trust again. You made a vow about men. I don't like men because my husband did me wrong. I don't like certain things in society, and we made vows on the inside. We don't even know we made that inner vow. We just said something, I ain't gonna never do that, or I ain't gonna do this, I'll never get married again. That's why some people can't get married. Because they put that blockage up there. And then there's the spirit of rejection. And you feel like you're an orphan, nobody wanted you, you were rejected in a throwaway. Why my mama give me away? She kept that second one, but she gave me away. And then he ended up hating women. And you know he wasn't going to treat his wife right either. Because he hated his mom. Those spirits that get a hold of our soul, all these different hurts, resentment, and somebody said bitterness too. It's like a sour taste that's getting bitter. And you can pass it down to generations too. So Lord, we repent. But everybody pray the Holy Ghost. Pray the Holy Ghost. Pray the Holy Ghost. Show us God. Show us things that's done. Show us God. Unforgiveness, God. Jealousy and envy, God. We breathe in that sound mind, Lord, restore our souls that we think right. And we decree and declare, let this mind be in you that was in Christ Jesus. Let the mind of Christ be in unlimited forgiveness. Just totally release them. Come on. Totally release them. Totally. Out of your own belly, out of your own belly, rivers of living water are flowing. Rivers of living water are flowing. Hallelujah. We speak life. We speak life. Restoration of life. There will not be a disconnect. There will be a connection, says the Lord. I will reconnect with you. That you have life and have it overflowing. Overflowing life. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Come on, come on. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you.
I heard two things. I heard that you can't operate opposite the strongest thought that you have. So if that thought of how that person treated you, you still see the action, you still see that on a daily basis, and you see the thought of I'll never make it, or I'm the lowest on the totem pole. If that thought is the strongest thought, you can't operate opposite that thought. So I hear, and the other thing I heard was, whatever the act that, or the things that have caused you to be an emotional wreck or pain, write those things down now. Everybody needs a pencil and paper. Write it down, and then you're going to tear it up. Good. And I need a trash can. That's going to be the grave. That you're going to put that in there. You said, I'm burying this. I can't go back to it. I'm writing this down. I'm releasing it out of my soul now. As I write it, it's releasing it through the ink pen. Writing it down. And now I'm tearing it up. And now I bury it into this grave. So we need paper, pencil, and trash can.
There's a trash can up there right there in a little bit. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Lord Jesus. Write it down now. Do it now while the Spirit is speaking. We're releasing things from the past. He restored my soul. You know, when Pastor Evelyn went with me to the forgiveness school, remember?
Yeah.
With Jefferson Floyd? And they had in the front an aquarium, and he put all these golf balls in there, and he was holding down so many, but after a while, so he couldn't hold down, they started popping up. And he called those memory modulars, that we have suppressed memory that's going to pop up. You can try to keep them down all you want to, but eventually, God, why am I losing my temper in public? Why am I acting so foolish? Because things are popping up that you have to deal with. Have you ever fasted and all kinds of stuff start manifesting? And God has said, I won't deal with some of that stuff. You said, but why is it coming up when I fast? You open your spirit. things will be revealed. And so God is not going to reveal everything to you in one day. So you pray in the Spirit every day, and He'll show you something. And you get rid of that. You keep a trash can in your bedroom. Forgive people. I'm going to let it go. Something she talked about her little brown baby doll. Let it go. Huh?
And the other thing, be real before God. None of us, we all go through different things. So this is the hospital. We're in the house of God. This is an opportunity right now. God, Prophet Leon didn't just say, well, I'm going to have a conference. Believe that God has set this in place. Now He's given us some instructions to do this. So take the time to do it. What is the thing that keeps coming up? What is the thing that the pain that you have, the unforgiveness that's there, the person, and somebody says, I don't have any unforgiveness. When that person calls you, or when you see that person, and there's something that happens in you, there's some unforgiveness there.
Yeah.
So just write it down, whatever it could be. Can I have a question?
Everybody got pencil and paper? So raise your hand if you, there's that paper up here. Raise your hand. Jacqueline?
Yes.
Miss Ava's got her hand raised, and Bertha has her. Bertha, give a pencil and paper.
Here's another pencil.
Another pen. Do we have another handout? You didn't get one? Our speaker didn't get a handout from Pastor Evans.
Anybody else in paper? Everybody can get one.
Okay. Okay, so everyone who wanted paper, you got it? And you wrote your thing down? If you did, let's raise it up to God. Thank you, Heavenly Father. Father, as an act of faith, we release this to you.
Yes, Lord.
We know, God, that you are our healer. Father, we thank you, so we step into that now in the name of Jesus. You've already sent your word to heal every disease of our body, of our soul. And so, Father, we step into it now by faith. And Father, we release this pain, we release this thing that has come against us, this thought, Father, and we say that today is the day that we bury it back, Lord God. We send it back in the name of Jesus. We thank you for the blood of Jesus cleansing us, washing us right now in Jesus' name. Now take it and tear it up. You don't have to worry about somebody seeing your business, all that. Just tear it up. Come up and put it in the trash.
If they want to do another one, can they do?
You can do as many as you
You
want.
can do as many as you want.
And the other thing that I heard you last night was about this is a cocoon. God has us in a cocoon this weekend, and so He's doing some things. There's going to be a transformation that's going to happen. But even after this, keep entering into His presence. Keep coming before Him with worship, and allow God, the transformation to be completed. Okay? So the Holy Spirit bring this thought to you again. Write the stuff down and do it again.
Praise the Lord. It's wonderful.